Welcome, everyone. We are the Hypes Watch, and we're here for our this month's epic reread. And this month we are doing the House of the Undying chapter. Pretty exciting chapter. Maybe the most talked about chapter in the Song of Ice and Fire series. So let's get around to introductions today, starting with our guest, and that is Quinn from Ice and Fire. Take it away, Quinn.
Hey, what's up? I'm Ideas of Ice and Fire. You can check me out on YouTube. I do a Song of Ice and Fire theory videos, and that's it.
What about some of your Dune and Stephen King stuff? Some of that?
Yeah, I also narrated some chapters from Stephen King's It, and I also do Dune videos, and I'm working on some more Dune videos.
All right.
So yeah.
Thanks a lot, Quinn. And let's get around to the Hypes Watch. Ladies first. Tinker Jasso, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, you know me by now. I'm actually really excited about this chapter. This is a chapter that me and Jerry chose because our birthday was this month and we really wanted to do this chapter. So I cannot wait to start, and there's just so much to talk about in this chapter.
There is so much to talk about in this chapter, and so let's finish out with the introductions. Big Game James of JBTV.
What's up, everyone? JBTV. Just glad to be here talking about one of the most atmospheric chapters of the series. It's one of the best. A lot of good things in it.
Thanks, James. Look at how trim this guy's looking, peoples. Look at how trim he's looking. Congratulate him there. And last but not least, Mr. Don Willie.
Valor Margolis, everybody. It's Don Willie here. Glad to be with my people, of course. And, shout out to everyone who's going to be in the chat watching this live and everyone who will watch this afterward. This is a spectacular chapter with many foreshadowings. And I am, I'm glad to be here to discuss it.
Thank you, Don Willie. So let's just get right into the chapter here since we have a lot to talk about. Just to do a brief catch up, we have Dany's story in Clash of Kings. Basically, she escapes the Dothraki Sea, escapes the Red Waste, ends up in Karth, tries to get help from different people like the Spicers, 13 Purebloods. Pretty much denied all of them help. Finally, turns to the warlocks who are promising all kinds of pleasantries and riches and whatnot to the mother of dragons. So, so she's going out there to check out what their story is, what they're offering, what they can tell her. She's giving a lot of bit of a warning here by some of her people, like her Dothraki, giving a lot of warning about the from Jorah and Zoradon Daxos, telling them that the warlocks really don't have anything to offer. They're just a bunch of, crazies, whatnot. And before we get into the house, does anyone have any comment to that about what's been going on with Daenerys before that, or should we just get right into her meeting up with walking into the House of the Undying?
I got nothing.
Nothing. Oh, you got something to take? Okay. All right. So she pretty much goes into the House of the Undying. There's pretty much no towers. It's just one floor, no windows. Pyat Pree comes in, tells her, gives her all kinds of instructions that she always has to go right, constantly go right at every door. Don't go any of the opposite way. And I don't want to get too much right into what's actually in the doors, but we just give it a little bit ahead. As she walks through it, she starts seeing all kinds of stuff in the room. She finally realizes that the first right equals the last left, and Pyat Pree comes again and tries to give her instructions, tell her not to go down any stairs, only go up any stairs. But then she realizes one story. But then she goes up and winds up to the Undying. I just want to talk though about the structure of the house. Like, what do y'all guys think on that? Do you think that this house is actually some kind of magic house that has all kinds of illusions that's causing all this, or is it just she's tripping balls from the shade of the evening here? What does anyone think of that, JB?
Well, I mean, I think she's tripping balls. I mean, I think it's quite apparent that Shade of the Evening, I think, kind of has similar properties to magic mushrooms in our real life, comparison there. And yeah, I pretty much believe she's tripping balls. I could tell from like sort of some of the descriptions where you have a distortion of reality. I'm not saying I have reference from experience, but yeah, it has a similar feel to the effects of magic mushrooms. Some of the things that how like perception is distorted, reality is distorted.
You seem too confident there to not have previous experience, James.
I will neither confirm nor deny.
What do you think, Teak? Do you think this house is actually magical, as the warlocks, Pyat Pree, are basically trying to say, or is it just a bunch of BS? They're just tripping people out and making them believe that there's something more than there is, kind of pulling like a Melisandre, what she does a lot of time.
Look, Melisandre did say that she has tricks and all sorts of stuff, but we also know that she can actually do genuine magic. So I believe it's a mixture of both. I believe that there is some magic in the house, and they use the name won't come now. The drink,
Shade of the Evening?
yeah, the Shade of the Evening, to kind of like make it stronger, make it like, if you're already tripping, whatever you see that is magic everything will be heightened, everything will look more, the effect will be much higher, because the truth is that we see a lot of visions there that eventually either come true or are from the past. If she was only tripping, she wouldn't actually see things that were true, that we know are true now. So there must be at least some element of magic in the house. So the fact that she's tripping doesn't mean that the house isn't magic.
Could it be that maybe the Shade of the Evening is the thing that's magic, and the house is just, a bunch of nothing?
It might be, but remember that we also hear. I think it's in the next chapter, or maybe the chapter before, when this guy sorcerer was doing tricks with fire, and they told her, that sometime, a few weeks or months or maybe a year ago, that he wouldn't be able to do that, and now he can because magic has awakened. So it does describe that house as like decrepit and full of dust, and maybe the house is awakening. Maybe the magic is awakening with the dragons, and maybe the power that house used to have, it stopped having it, and now it's awakening it again. We don't know. But I kind of like the idea of magic house, and we do know that magic exists in this world. So I'm not saying that it's not. I think that there is something to the house, and honestly, a part of me just wants to believe it's magic because I kind of really like it, the idea.
I mean, that would explain why they don't allow anyone, but somehow they allow Drogon in. Maybe they want to up the power of the magic of the house. I don't know. Quinn, you have any idea on that?
Yeah, I agree with Tinker. I think it's like a mix of magic, and then also I think that the Shade of the Evening is kind of like a hallucinogenic drug, like an incredible one, and one that's like super disorienting. And I also kind of had the idea a while ago that if someone takes the Shade of the Evening, then they're like more open to suggestion, because like in the Winds of Winter chapter, the Forsaken, Euron gives the Shade of the Evening to his brother, and his brother gets all these like kind of visions of Euron like on the Iron Throne and stuff like that. So maybe like you give someone the Shade of the Evening, and like you can kind of lead their hallucination in a way. But then I also think with the House of the Undying that there is some degree of magic there. So yeah.
All right, thanks. Now, Willie, anything to add?
I mean, look, I would have to say that there's got to be some sort of magic in there. I mean, because I don't think Shade of the Evening would be. I don't think it would allow you to be that coherent. I mean, if you think about any other time you've heard about, a vision with Shade of the Evening, it's been very, very incoherent. It's more like a dream where, you'll be one place, you'll be walking, like somewhere, and then you open a door and it's just something totally different. Or you could be in the middle of walking on a road, and all of a sudden, like as you're on the road, it turns into something totally different. This seems very, very coherent, but at the same point, it could just be that she's literally walking in circles. I got an MC Escher vibe with the whole thing of like, you always take the left door no matter what.
The right door.
Is the right door?
Yeah, it was always taking the right door, and then she finally realizes that the first left is the last, or the last left is the same, or it's one of the others. The first left is the last right, or the first right is the last left. Either way.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. It's been a week, but anyway. Yeah. So it's one of those things where, like I said, I got the MC Escher vibe, where it's kind of a closed loop. So she could be, just totally tripping and, just walking around in circles the entire time and seeing things because of that drink. But I mean, magic does exist, so I wouldn't doubt that there are some other magical things that are going on as well, as what's happening with her in terms of seeing her own visions because of the shading of the evening.
So you think we might have some like Penrose triangles going on here, the Penrose stairs, stuff like that?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. When I like the last time, when I went back through it yesterday, I was like, yeah, this just seems like that. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Inception.
I was about to say, where's my Inception button? Boom. All right, so.
Wait, I had something to add real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I said that maybe the house didn't have magic, but I do believe that. I mean, maybe that the Shade of the Evening itself is what has the magical properties, because the Undying Ones themselves are the ones that at least have a magical nature in the sense of the fact that they are ancient beings whose flesh has turned to, has withered and turned to rot, and it's, known that they drink a lot of Shade of the Evening. So maybe it's the Shade of the Evening itself trips, makes Danny trip balls, but maybe that also itself is a magical elixir of some sort or has some magical properties.
Maybe since Quinn has been on this Dune thing, maybe it's a bit like the spice,
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Shows you a little bit of a little bit of the future, the past, present, and all of the above. Does anyone have any more to talk about the shade? I mean, I'm thinking more this is the Shade of the Evening. That she's basically in a freaking box, just a couple rooms, and that it's mainly the Shade of the Evening that's causing her to, see these visions, feel these, like, it's basically like a VR almost thing that's taken to her. But I think it's also a little bit magical, and that's why some of the it's able to show some future things, a little bit like, the spice kind of stuff. Anyone have anything to comment about Shade in the Evening before we start getting into these actual visions that she sees?
Yeah, as far as the Shady the Evening is concerned, I mean, I think it's pretty interesting that the way that it's described is, kind of like at first the taste is sour and then it turns sweet and then it becomes all of these different things in one. Um like that, I don't know if there's any drink like that in real life, but I don't know that I would want to be drinking something that does something like that on a constant basis, like like Euron Greyjoy does, or the Warlocks. and it kind of does make you question whether or not it's a magic thing or whether it's these dudes just sitting there tripping balls over some magic mushroom kind of shit, man. So I don't know if anybody else thought the same thing.
I don't know, but the description that it's giving of them of the old the Undying, like the last ones, and they're like all.
We'll get to that.
And like I'm like, dude, the just living in like I don't care how long they live, it's not worth it. It's really not worth it to live like that. So no, I wouldn't be drinking that stuff.
I think it's like the spice melange because it turns their lips blue, and the spice melange turns the eyes blue, and then it expands consciousness and awareness, and it gives you like sight to like visions, and it makes you live longer. It's a geriatric substance. Mm-hmm. So maybe George R. R. Martin was making some kind of reference there to Frank Herbert.
Yeah, and the blue eyes, it's also mentioned there. One of the some of them, the white of the eyes, that it was blue as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did it say how old the warlocks were inside the House of the Undying?
Well, they claimed to be. Well, I mean, they were claiming to be immortal, and then didn't even ask them like, "How did you beat death?" And whatnot. I mean, they're claiming to have been around for a long time, but I'm thinking they're just really, really old, and it's like almost like the spice. But yeah, that's all I got to say about the Shade of the Evening. Anyone else about that, or should we get on to the first vision, which is she comes in, and she sees a pretty graphic vision here of a woman being raped by 4 little dwarves, or basically being raped. She's being grabbed and all kinds of having unpleasantries done to her by these little dwarves. Does anyone not think that this is not a like allegory for the War of the Five Kings, the woman being Westeros? Does anyone not think that? Maybe you don't have any different take. I mean, that's my take. I think that's pretty universal take in the Song of Ice and Fire community. If anyone has anything different, let me know. Or if not, we can.
No, I think that's the general. That's a general consensus. But I will admit that I didn't pick up on that on my first read through. I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't really know what it was supposed to represent. I don't know if you guys had any like first inclinations of what you thought when you were reading that, but that wasn't mine.
I didn't start getting inclinations till my third reread on this. Because, well, to be fair though, my first reread, I only read Game of Thrones and Clash of Kings. Then I reread everything. Then I read Game of Thrones, Clash of Kings, Storm of Swords, and Feast for Crows. That's how I read it. So my first 2 times, I didn't pick up anything. And speaking of not picking up anything, the next vision we get is a Feast of Feast of Corpses. And we see someone sitting on a throne with the wolf's head, which is pretty much obvious the Red Wedding. I don't think anyone would debate on that. Anyone catch that before? On the first time
I thought it was Sansa's wedding.
Oh, you thought it was Sansa's?
That wasn't Sansa's wedding?
I'm pretty sure that's the Red Wedding.
No,
interesting.
I'm pretty sure that's when Sansa married. I'm pretty sure it's when Sansa married Tyrion.
Really? So explain that. How did you come up with that one?
No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Damn, I was trolled. Don Willie. All right.
You deserve it. I didn't, when I was rereading, because the first time around, I tend to read really fast because I need to know more and more. So I just fly through this. So I don't get the really small details until I do rereads. And I was reading, and when I saw that, I'm like, that son of a bitch. That was like my first reaction that came to mind, because as you probably know, I hate the freaking Red Wedding. I understand its purpose. I know what it means, but I don't care. I love the characters that I love, and I hate it when they die, especially in situations like that. When I was reading, I was like, oh, if he was in front of me, I would punch him in the face.
Wow. Yeah, it took me 3 times, but I finally saw, I'm like, oh, shit, that's the Red Wedding. But yeah.
I'll say, because I read Clash after the first 2 seasons, but before the 3rd season. So the first time I read this, I didn't have the Red Wedding as a reference. so I didn't know exactly what it was when I first read it. However, you know, obviously you see dead people, you see anything involving wolves. I knew that at least one Stark was fucked when I read that. So that was my first thought when I read it.
That's more than I did, and that's more than I recognized. So, okay, so we can move on to the next vision, which was.
Hold on. You know,
you got something to say now, Willie? Go for it.
Yeah. Look, I got on the books a little late. I didn't start actually getting into the books, I think, until like right before season 4. Yeah, I think it was like right before season 4. So, for me, going through that stuff, you know, it was like, all right, this shit is just all kinds of fucking weird. I don't quite understand all of it. And it wasn't until later on when I went back and reread, like, oh, okay, he was, you know, kind of sprinkling this stuff throughout the story a little early. And then I was thinking to myself, nobody ever would have picked up on that, though, because even the way that the Red Wedding unfolded, it's like, yeah, you knew it was kind of ominous, but the way that things wound up turning out, you know, like, I don't think you would immediately jump back to the vision from the House of the Undying and think, oh man, it was sitting right there all along. So, you know,
I mean, it could easily, like, I mean, if you read this before, you know, before knowing of the Red Wedding, you can easily interpret this like as thinking that the Starks are going to triumph, and that you know, just the Wolf's Head is just, you know, Stark sitting on the throne over a bunch of bodies that he, you know, climbed over.
It doesn't look good. Like the whole description of him with the wolf, it doesn't look like he's gonna win. It looks like he's fucked.
I mean, we know that now, but I mean, I'm reading before. If we didn't know it before, I could see it being the other way. But damn, that's why I think that's what makes George R. R. Martin such a good writer. So
I don't know. Nothing about it sounded like it was like good for any Stark. Like the way that it's described. Let's see if I can find it. It's just no. It sounded bad, very bad. Am I the only one who thinks that?
I'll read it real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he was there. It was just a bunch of dead corpses lying around, and a wolf was.
No.
Never mind.
Yeah.
It's a dead man with the wolf's head. So never mind.
Yeah, Quinn's gonna read it. Let him read it.
Farther on, she came upon a feast of corpses, savagely slaughtered, and feasters lay strewn across the overturned chairs and hacked trestle tables, a sprawl in pools of congealing blood. Some had lost limbs, even heads. Severed hands clutched bloody cups, wooden spoons, roast fowl, heels of bread. In a throne above them sat a dead man with the head of a wolf. He wore an iron crown and held a leg of lamb in one hand, as a king might hold a scepter, and his eyes followed Dany with mute appeal. Yeah, that sounds awful.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty joyous.
I forgot the dead man part, but yeah. So.
And the lamb's leg as a spear, lambs in the slaughter. No, the symbolism is, I'm sorry, you're screwed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so our next vision, we have the lemon tree. She sees that out of window, sees the lemon tree. We're reminded about the house, the red door. We all know the debate, thanks mainly to Ms. Preston Jacobs, about, you know, did Dany really grow up in Braavos? Could this be Dorne? Could this be some, you know, where there is lemon trees? I think Aziz pointed out, it made a very good point on a recent podcast, saying that, well, you know, the Sea Lord of Braavos is the kind of guy who would import a lemon tree from Dorne for his little part of Braavos. So I'm thinking that kind of fixes that. But what do you guys think? You think, what do y'all think about the lemon tree and the red door? Is there is it just a memory that she actually saw, or is George trying to sprinkle something that we're going to see in the future? Let's start with T, or JB, go for it.
You know, to me, I kind of think it's like, her wanting maybe to go back to a time where she had less responsibility, wanted, maybe just go back to a time where she just wanted to be home and not have to worry about anything. And obviously she can't. That's why, she backs away and runs away. I think it's kind of like a symbolism of the fact that she can't have like a normal childhood and she has to move on. And that's how I interpreted it. I don't know if it's necessarily a place where she's gonna end up, or if it had, that it has any other symbolism other than that. But that's just me.
I agree 100%, and I think this is an actual memory of her, and it's just a memory of that brings back, when times were simpler in her life. Anyone have a different take?
Well, if no one is gonna say anything, the first time that I read it, I remember thinking, as I said, I love magic and I like the idea that this house also has magic. And I remember him saying, always going to the door to the right. Always get the first right and always go up. So that implied to me that there was a certain danger of not going in that way, into those doors. And that the other doors might tempt her to go a different route if there was magic in that house. And I thought that this was a way of the house, we've seen it in other books and movies, certain things that will tempt you to, because there's also another moment in which the sorcerer appears and he says, you have to go this way, you're going wrongly, and she's like, no, I have to go, and there's like twice. And this is the first time that Sir William is there, and he's like, come with me, child. And he's like trying to get, and a part of her is tempted to go, because I think that is the best memory that she has of her childhood, when she was happy in the Red Door. And I think the first time that I read it, now I don't know, because there's just so many things that he puts in there that how the hell do you know? But my first thought was, this is the house tempting her to go another way and to get lost, and not to go where she wants to go, which is.
I think it was a test of her resolve, to see how driven she is, and she ends up making it through. But I think it's part of it is to test her resolve and her will.
Yeah, something like that. Something to like see if she can be tempted away from the journey.
All right. Thanks. Don Willie?
Yeah, you know what? It's one of those things where the whole house with the red door, we're still years later trying to figure out where that is. Because after you get the description in the Dance with Dragons of what Dorne looks like, I mean, not Dorne, what Braavos looks like, it's real hard for you to say that, this is where Daenerys grew up. I mean, because you would figure if she did grow up in Braavos, we would probably see something through Arya's eyes with regards to the house with the red door. We don't see anything about that at all. There's no allusion to it whatsoever. So, could Dany be misremembering things, or was it because this is what she was told about her childhood, that's how she believes, or where she believes she grew up? So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not it turns out to be true that she grew up in Braavos, or whether or not it happens to be in Dorne, because Dorne is the only place that we know of so far with lemon trees.
Yeah, it's possible, but I do like Aziz's theory of, or not theory, right? Speculation, just of saying that, well, Sea Lord of Braavos is the kind of guy who would import a lemon tree from Dorne in his little garden for himself. Might not be anywhere else in Dorne, but it would be there, which is where Dany was staying. So moving forward, the next vision we get, I mean, we all know this vision. Aerys, obviously Aerys the Mad King, right before Jaime gives it to him right in the back, right before that, where he's telling basically telling his pyromancers to light the wildfire and let Robert be the king of charred bones and cooked meat. I don't know if anyone has any comments to that. I mean, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Even then, I think it might have been self-explanatory, pretty obvious what was going on there.
It's very self-explanatory, but I remember rereading it and thinking that I like the fact that she actually gets to see an image of her father, of what he really is, because she has this stubborn, Dany. I kind of like Dany, but there's a moment when she's like usurpers dogs and stuff, and and you're like, dude, do you remember that vision that you had, the House of the Undying, about him going nuts? Maybe that she should have it closer to her mind to see exactly who he was.
That's a very good point, Tate, because if you read like her chapters prior to this, she's just talking about traitor this, usurper that. Oh, Stark got hung as a traitor? Oh, wait, honor? Stark had honor? What are you talking about? He killed my father. He took arms against my father. Like, yeah, that's a very good point. She actually gets a glimpse here, seeing what kind of piece of shit her father kind of turned into later.
I just wish that there was some dialogue that she had, like, who is this guy? Or like talking, is this really my father? She just looked at it and moved on. Like, I wish there was something more.
I doubt she realized it, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, I probably didn't realize it, but I wish there was at least something, some sort of dialogue. Like,
well, I don't know if
she piece of shit
realize it, because she does realize about Rhaegar. I just think that one of the things that frustrates me about Dany is that she has an ability of kind of like not paying attention to the things that she doesn't want to, or forgetting or ignoring, and hanging on to the things that have either offended her, that she like the things that make her uncomfortable in her worldview, kind of like her family. Like the good things she holds on to, but like the bad things that she doesn't want to like see, she kind of like does not want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I got some friends that sometimes block out the bad. And
I'd have to actually disagree, because I mean, if you think about it, when she's thinking about her brother, Viserys, not Rhaegar, but when she's thinking about Viserys, it's always thinking about how fucked up he was.
Well, yes, but that's the one that she experienced personally. She suffered Viserys.
Right, and you got to think about it.
She hadn't idealized him.
Right, but I mean, she never really knew her father, and she only got stories about her father from Viserys, and maybe she might have gotten some stories from William Darry, but it like all the stories that she would have gotten so far would have all been how her father wasn't really that bad, so seeing that particular vision, I don't think that she realized it was him, because the whole thing about burning people, she never got that story. That's not the story that she was told about him. So
but she gets told certain things by Sir Barristan later on in the books. Mm-hmm. And she has difficulty swallowing the truth, and we all know Sir Barristan, and she knows Sir Barristan, how he is and how honest he is and all that, and her mind never goes back to that vision.
Yeah, but all right, think about it like this though, right? She at the time is in her mid-teens, right? She's
just a young girl.
She's never met Barristan Selmy before. Barristan Selmy stayed with Robert Baratheon to be part of Robert Baratheon's Kingsguard, and the only reason why he's here is because when Robert Baratheon died, Joffrey kicked him to the curb. So, you got to think about it. If she spent her entire life hearing that her father was a good man, and that everybody who served with Robert Baratheon were a bunch of traitors, when Barristan Selmy shows up, it's going to be like, oh, well, the only reason why you're here is because they forced you out, not because this is where you truly wanted to be. So I don't think that, we're looking at it from the point of, we know that Barristan is a good man because we've seen him outside of what happened with Daenerys, and we know that he regretted staying with Robert Baratheon. But at the same point, that's like if someone came to you, you know, and talk bad about one of your family members, you know, like let's say, you know, somebody like your one of your parents owned a business, your parent died, the business somehow got taken away from you, and the person who was helping to manage your parents' business comes around like 10 or 12 years later and it's like, yeah, you know, your dad or your mom really wasn't that great of a CEO. You know, you've been hearing how great of a CEO they were, but nah, you know, really they were kind of fucked up. You're going to be sitting up there like, all right, well, you stayed on with the person who stabbed my father or mother in the back that whole time. Why should I really trust you?
Well, but Ser Jorah fought against her father, and she trusts Ser Jorah. I don't actually remember because I've got to admit I've got a blind spot when it comes to Ser Jorah because I hate him. So I don't. I hate his guts. I know. So I just kind of sometimes just. Does he ever talk to her honestly about her family?
No, I mean, like he talks to her about
kind of a little bit.
I mean, really more so about Rhaegar than her father, though. Her father doesn't really get mentioned by Jorah too much. It's mainly Barristan. Remember, Barristan at first is kind of like, I don't know if I want to tell you too much about him right now, and she kind of has to prod him.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't mind reading Barristan. I like Barristan. It's just Jorah. I hate his guts.
Quinn, did you have anything on the lemon tree? Going back just one scene, I think we forgot to get Quinn on the lemon tree.
On the lemon tree, no. I pretty much agree with you guys that it's like it just represents her lost childhood.
All right, so let's go on to the next vision, which is a doozy in this one, or it might be. I don't know. We'll talk about it. First, she thinks it's Viserys, but then she realizes, nope, it's. I don't even know if she realizes that it's Rhaegar, but she realizes it's another Targaryen, and you know we see the birth of Aegon, and you know we do a little bit of he does a little bit of a name dropping of the series here, which. You know, I have to admit, I'm not a big fan of name dropping in series, but this one comes off pretty good. It comes off a lot better, like than something like, well, I guess for some kind of Suicide Squad. You know, it comes off better than that. I really, you know, I did get a little bit of a chills when I heard, you know, he has a song, and this song is a song of Ice and Fire.
It does get kind of name dropped again a little bit later on in this chapter too. By the Undying Ones.
And then he hits a big one here. He says, "There's more. There must be more. The dragon has 3 heads, and as we know, there's Aegon has an older sister, and that's it. It's just 2 of them." And then he goes on to pretty much kind of look at Daenerys. At least Daenerys feels that he was looking and talking almost to her. So, I mean, this one's, in my opinion, this was kind of a doozy, especially with the 3 heads. What do you think about this, Quinn? Do you think that the 3 heads are actually meaningful in a way, or is it just kind of?
You mean the 3 heads of the dragon?
3. I mean, that's what I think. That's our first hint is right here. It's like the dragon must have. He says the dragon must have 3 heads.
I think he means that he has to have 3 children. Mm-hmm. And like they're like, I mean, it represents like Aegon and his sister wives. So that's what I think.
Do you think that any of the looking at Dany that she might be one of the replacements for the 3 heads?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea who the other 3 heads could be?
A lot of ideas.
Why they call you the ideas of Ice and Fire?
I mean, yeah, like. So the Ghost of Highheart told, I'm going to get the names messed up. The Ghost of Highheart said that the prince that was promised would come from the line of Rhaella and, you know, whoever Daenerys is descended from. So as long as the people that were in the Trinity, the 3 heads of the dragon, were from that line, I think it will work.
It'll work. Cool. Anyone else have any thoughts about this? Okay, there we go. Tink?
No, I was just gonna ask, which one does he think they are apart from Dany?
Well, you got Jon. Who's the third, though? Could it be Tyrion?
I think
Jaime.
I think it could be Cersei or Jaime more likely than Tyrion because
Really?
like
You imagine Cersei on the dragon?
I mean, I can't. Well, look, I mean, the reason because I think that Tyrion is Tywin's son. I think that could be like a pretty big because it's like it's irony, like because the one child that Tywin's like, this is not my son that I don't want to accept. That's your son, and these other two aren't.
Right.
You know, Cersei is totally kind of obsessed with fire, is she not? Like when she's like burning the Tower of the Hand, she's like looking at it like she's having an orgasm. And then Jaime is looking at her and he's like, I've never seen her more beautiful in the light of the flames. And she's like totally like feeling it because she's setting like the Tower of the Hand on fire. It's totally nuts. And then she's also totally going down that same path of the Mad King with like the paranoia and like everyone's out to get me. Yeah, I totally see Cersei as the Mad Queen, as the Mad King's daughter.
Both kind of like Beavis, just like fire, fire, fire.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting. You know, obviously it's confirmation that Rhaegar believed his children were fulfilling a prophecy, and you know it's interesting because I think George has something to say about self-fulfilling prophecies or prophecies in general. I think that's kind of where like Stannis' storyline is going. You know, he's saying beware of self-fulfilling prophecies, and I can't help to wonder if this is going to maybe end bad. I don't know, but I think that's part of George's some of the things he's trying to say with his writing. I don't know.
End bad for Stannis? No.
Yeah, things will end bad for Stannis. Self-complaint. I'm a Stannis fan, and I can admit that things are going to end bad for Stannis.
No.
Oh, poor James. Don't rub it in his face, Jerry. You're mean.
I like Stannis too, but
I'm a realist. I'm a realist.
We're both realists. Don Willie.
Okay, so 3 heads of the dragon thing. Wait, what the hell? Yo. I'm sorry. I think we might have some issue here. Sorry, there was something going on in the chat. Man, oh man. Okay, so 3 heads of the dragon. You know what? For me, it is extremely hard to tell, you know, who the 3 heads of the dragon are supposed to be.
Cersei.
Oh my god. Yeah, man. So I don't know, man. Like, obviously Daenerys. You know, I'm gonna have to say Jon. And yeah, gonna have to say Jon. And also,
Jon's really the obvious one.
But here's the thing, right? What if there is no third? What if this is just one of those things where what if this is just one of those things where you know, you think that it's something and it actually isn't. You know,
maybe the lack of a third is the difference between a sweet ending and a bittersweet ending.
Right. You know, yeah, I mean, you know, it could be one of those red herrings. This could be one of the big red herrings. Like, we're sitting here trying to figure out who the third head of the dragon is, and there never was one. It could be a super huge red herring.
It could be, but we're about to find out how important the number 3 is in this series in just a bit. But before we get to that,
well, you know, I had an idea.
Okay, so your idea first.
It says that the dragon must have 3 heads, but it doesn't say that, you know, for this prophecy to be fulfilled, like all 3 must like be active in the world. Like, maybe the third head hasn't been born yet. We know that Dany cannot have any more children. That's what she's been told. But Jon can, if he's the second head. Maybe the third head just hasn't been born yet.
Can zombies have children?
Oh, stop it. He's not a zombie, and he's not going to be a zombie.
You guys are going to hate it when Daenerys and Jon Snow die, and then Cersei is the only one that can mount a dragon and save Westeros from the White Walkers.
Oh my god!
No, that just, oh my god, I can just imagine it. Oh, that'd be horrible.
Watch her like shoot like fire. Watch her on a dragon, and like every time her dragon like shoots like fireball, she's just like shame, 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 shame.
No, Bran would have to take over the dragon and throw her off it.
Do you think George R. R. Martin could write it in such a way that he could get you to root for Cersei? And he'd be like, Cersei, our hero.
Now, I'm sorry. I kind of like seeing her go batshit crazy. Like when you said when she was burning the tower, I love that chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how you can see how batshit crazy she's going. But I'm sorry. I'm not in the Lannister side, like ever. Only Tyrion. And then the last book, Tyrion has gotten on my nerve. Like that self-pity, I want to rape my sister kind of vibe. I'm like, oh, snap out of it or I will slap you out of it.
If I can go off topic for just like a little bit, I definitely think Cersei is like super crazy now. Like, because like after like book 5, she's like infused with a hatred for the people of King's Landing because like they treated her like just like shit, like through that Walk of Fame. Mm-hmm. Like, so she's like, not only does she hate them even more than she used to, she's also like already kind of going mad. So if she gets like, I mean, and after the epilogue, like Cersei is like gonna be like so confused and like paranoid, like the paranoia is coming in from all these different ways, and then she's back in power. It's gonna be nuts.
And
it's gonna be nuts.
And not only that, Tommen is gonna die soon. I'm certain that he's gonna die in the next book. Because we already know through the prophecy that he's going to die. So,
and she's going to cause his death.
When he's going to die, oh my God, we're going to get like, she's going to make the Mad King look sane.
King's Landing is coming down. Like it's going to erupt in glorious green flame.
Oh, it's going to be fun to read. Yeah. It's gonna be fun to read, but no, that's I don't think that she's Targaryen or Jaime, and it's mostly because there's nothing that gives me that hint like that it could be possible, and since I don't want it to be possible, I don't even want to just know because then it will legitimize kind of Cersei has this thing that she wants to be on the throne, she wants to be queen, and she thinks like she deserves it, and if she turned out to be the Mad King's daughter, it would be kind of like legitimize her, and that would be I'd hate that. I'd absolutely hate that. And I hate Tyrion. There's a lot of theories that Tyrion is also the Mad King's son, and I also hate it, despise it, because I kind of like. I agree with you, Quinn. I think that he is the true son of Tywin, and his sister says it to Jaime when Jaime goes to help them with all the mess that's happening in the River Run. That he was his true son, and I kind of like the fact that the one that turned out just exactly like him and the one that killed him was his actual son, because then the fact that he killed him, it's not as strong or as powerful or as meaningful if he ends up being someone else's son.
Absolutely.
Maybe Tyrion's a chimera. Just saying.
Wait, so here's the thing though, right? If that's the case, if Jaime and Cersei are the Mad King's kids, then that means there's 4 heads of the dragon, not 3. And,
one must die.
Yeah, and again, that's why
there can only be one.
And that's why I am thinking that no, the 3 heads of the dragon thing is just going to turn out to be a giant red herring.
But
something to get.
If Jaime kills Cersei and he's the Valonqar, then there would just be 3, and then Jaime would be the other one.
But I think Jaime's going to wind up. I think it's going to wind up being something. And I'm like, we're way off the topic right now.
The We all know the third head is Varys, who is Mance, who is Rhaegar, who is...
No. I can't believe you're missing the obvious choice. The obvious is, Peter Baelish, hashtag Secret Targaryen, hashtag Team Baelish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh man, King Bay. Oh man, I mean, look, I mean, listen, I just have this feeling that, with all of the prophecies that could have been misread, I mean, because remember, we still don't even know why Rhaegar decided that he had to become a warrior. He said he read something in a book one day. We have no idea.
He was the prince was promised.
Yeah, so I mean, like, there's way too much here that we still have yet to discover, and I think it's going to wind up being one of those things where we find out that it was like, nope, you've been reading it all wrong. Sorry, folks, there is no three heads of the dragon. All it is a damn sigil.
The first time that I actually, read it through, the first time there's a lot of things you don't catch, and you have to go rereading it again. And the first time I thought that Aegon was actual real Aegon, or more like I wanted it to be the real Aegon, because I kind of liked the idea that Tywin was such a monster, that he did this monstrosity, and that it failed, and that he was still alive. I kind of like the idea of Tywin not getting what he wanted. That he did this monstrous thing that kind of blemished his image, and or at least, a lot of people thought badly what he did, and that it did not work out. The first time I thought that Aegon might be the third head of the dragon. He's kind of like what at least they're trying to make us believe that he's gonna be. Although I think it's clear by now that he's a fake.
I mean, even if he was a Blackfire, he could fit in as a third head of the dragon. The only problem I see with that is, we'll get to that in a minute. There's so many prophecies showing that there's going to be a clash between Dany and Aegon. So,
and Quinn just mentioned that it has to be from Rhaella's and
and
Aerys' descendant. So the fact that he's Blackfire kind of.
Well, they just said the prince was promised on that. They didn't actually say the prince's support has to be from that same line. But
does anyone actually think that he's actually going to be able to ride a dragon? Because he is from Targaryen descendant, whether he's...
Yeah, he should be able to ride a dragon if he could tame it, Aegon. Assuming he is a Blackfire. I mean, we saw plenty of Blackfire. We saw plenty of bastard Targaryens ride dragons before, so...
Right.
He has to be a Blackfire. If he's not the actual Aegon, if he's not a Blackfire, it'll be just...
Oh, if he's not a Blackfire, he'd have to nettles it in some way, but other than that...
I mean, well, remember, he also could be the descendant of Arryn Brightflame as well.
Well, that is a Targaryen.
Right. So, we'll see. All right.
We'll see. But let's go on to... Dany walks into a room, sees all kinds of beautiful people, sees a nice little wizard-looking dude, sees all kinds of people saying that they are the Undying. They look so awesome. They look like they're having an awesome time. Awesome people listening to awesome music. And, sure enough, their little facade just gets exposed, and we see a bunch of decrepit, pretty much near dead-looking people. Thoughts on we talked a little bit about, I think me and Quinn both agree that it's kind of like the Spice, that we're just extending their lives. What do you guys think? Are these people really ageless and immortal, or is there anything? I think it was just a glamour, and that these to make them look better, and then it's really just like kind of the Spice keeping them old and decrepit. They're like the 1,000-year-old man, Mel Brooks. So,
my first thought reading this scene was The Shining, when he goes to room, what's it, 314 or whatever, and he sees the beautiful woman, and then he goes to hug her, and she turns into a. That was my first thought. It's a false vision of what he's seeing, but it could be there's in your question in regards to the Shade of the Evening. There are drugs, like I think it's called DMT or something, where like you experience time. You can experience time differently. So maybe in their mind they are ancient, and they take the Shade of the Evening, and they feel like they're living 1,000 years when reality they're like 60 years old or something. There are examples of that in our world today. So maybe it's something like that.
And the reason they look all decrepit is because it's like crack. It's a hell of a drug.
I found this part really creepy because it was like this is one of the creepiest parts about the chapter to me, because it's like there's something really creepy about this insidious thing that's malevolent, but it's pretending to be benign and innocent, like it's and it's like, because they're not really like having a good time and like throwing a party and being like, oh, we're so happy. They're like decrepit and like old and dying. So it's creepy that they're like presenting this different form to her.
Oh, I just realized that James was referring to the bathroom scene in The Shining.
Yeah. It's like I had the thought where like you kind of have like a director's trick where they kind of swing the camera around and you see like a normal, beautiful person.
Yeah,
like it's behind the other person's perspective. You see an ugly, decrepit-looking thing. That's kind of how I
kind of like Melisandre, where she's like, which is actually compared to the bathroom scene in The Shining.
Yeah.
I like that you mentioned the point, The Shining. I think this whole chapter shows what kind of a good kind of horror writer George R. R. Martin could be at times. This does have a very horror feel to it.
I mean, well, didn't he also write a few episodes of like Twilight Zone in the 80s?
Outer Limits.
Yeah.
Which is the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, and then also Beauty and the Beast, which, no matter how you might want to call it, that is, kind of a horror story a little bit.
I mean, even like I got some of his other works, like Fever Dream. It's kind of a horror movie, or it's got. I don't want to spoil anything about it. Who doesn't know? But it's got a certain type of horror monster in it.
Don't worry. Preston Jacobs has already done that.
Oh well, then yeah, it's got vampires. So it's good books. You should read it though.
I don't know. I rereading it now. This chapter. I remember because I really don't like to go back to the series, especially because it's changed so much. But it reminded me to the episode, the episode that we saw Melisandre when she takes the necklace off and she turns into this.
Yeah, that's what we're referring to.
Really, really old woman, and the magics are different because she's from Asha, she's a red priestess. It's not the same thing, but magics are kind of similar. They just do things. We've already seen the glamours of that kind, exist.
Well, there's always been a feeling that it's all the same magic, just different names, just a little bit different flavors.
Yeah, different ways that it's kind of different words or whatever. They all have their own way of being the same thing, So I think it's just kind of, like that. I think that they're not immortal. I think it just extends it. They just extend the life a lot more. Clearly not a good way, because in the description that we get of the like how they are, I'm like, dude, I wouldn't want to live like that. I don't like what sort of that's not a life. It's like being a zombie. No matter what kind of glamour you put yourself on first, like, I was like, oh, this is like really, really creepy. So I don't think they're immortal. I think that, the first ones that are like happy and handsome and stuff, that's how they might have looked like 100 years ago. But no.
Anyone put any credence to the idea that perhaps the Shade of the Evening is just warping their presence of time in their own minds? It's
possible. I mean, that's definitely possible. I mean, we kind of get that too when Dany like first meets Pyat Pree earlier, and he's like, "Oh, you already finished so quickly?" And she's like, "Huh? I've been walking for hours."
Yeah, I'm starting to think more and more that it changes your own perception of time as well. I think there's some evidence for that, but
yeah, that's a good point there. So after the Undying, well, we all know things get a little bit creepy. They get a little bit a little bit grabby, and they start telling her some things that that lead This is going to lead to some of the biggest debates in the Song of Ice and Fire community. They tell her 3 fires must be light. 1 for life, 1 for death, and 1 for love. 3 mounts must you ride, 1 to bed, 1 to dread, and 1 to love. 3 treasons will you know, 1 for gold, 1 for blood, 1 for gold, and 1 for love. Let's start with the fires to light that Danny's gonna have to light. What do y'all think about that? Let's start with Don Willie. He's usually been going last here.
All right, so as far as the fires, I mean,
those magic number 3s coming out too as well.
Yeah, I know. And all right, so I think Drogo is the obvious number 1 for that. Number 2 and number 3 a little more difficult. So man, and the thing about it is, it's like, all right, how much of this is real and how much of it is her just on a fucking acid trip? I mean, I'd like to believe that I'd like to believe that what she is seeing are things that are going to happen, but it's a little difficult to kind of figure out. So with the whole thing of lighting the one, what is it, 1 to
for light, it's 1 for life, 1 for death, and 1 for love.
1 for life, 1 for death, 1 for love. I mean, Drogo probably should be the 1 to love. The 1 for, or no, you know what? That one might be the 1 for life because she brought the life to dragons.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
1 for death. I mean, maybe she is going to.
Could be something that already happened too.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, because I mean, is it her starting the fire, or?
Well, it's not us. We didn't start the fire.
Yeah, I know, it was always the world turning. I'll be honest with you. Like, this one is probably the most confusing one. Yeah, this one is the most confusing one for me.
Taker.
Well, there isn't really much to back anything of this one. The first one, the life, I think I completely agree. I think it's the dragons. You're gonna have to light a fire, and she lit the fire, which was Drogo was there, and that brought to life the dragons. And then there's death and love. And I don't really have anything to back it up. But I don't, she hasn't lit any other fires, not anything meaningful. And this is, as Don Willie says, this might not be, this might not happen. This might have happened and we don't know. This might not be meaningful stuff, but I'm gonna go, thinking that this might be something meaningful and powerful and whatever. And death, what I'm thinking is, like, that fire brought life, and death, she's eventually going to go to Westeros, and we know that if something dies and you're in the north, it comes back to life. So it would make sense that a big or important fire would be set if she didn't want someone or something like a dragon to come back to life as a zombie. So maybe that could be something. That would be an important fire that she could set, and that would definitely have the title of death. And love, this is something that I'm not going to say it because this is just my desire for it to happen. So let's just, I'm hoping that the last one means Jorah. That Jorah's going to die.
Wait, hold on.
Jorah loves her. Jorah loves her, and I'm hoping that, he dies and he burns or something. So. But as I said, this is just my wish.
But it would have to be her love, not his love. Like someone else that she loved instead of.
I don't know. It says love. It doesn't specify from who.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I think it'd be interesting. You know, what if that fire was all meant to be one fire rolled into that? All three of those things meant to be one thing, because you had the fire for life to bring back the dragons. You had the fire for death. Miri Maz-Dur died in that fire, and then you have the fire for love. You're burning Drogo, who she loved. Maybe the fire was all meant to be that one event.
Could be.
But if not, I mean, I'm trying to think the only
separate fires. Or maybe I just read it that way.
You might. I mean, they say 1-4, 1-4, 1-4, but they don't. That,
yeah, I don't know.
It makes you think 3 different fires, but it doesn't necessarily have to be.
The only other fire up to this point that I can think that specifically involved Dany was, you know, Drogon right after this lighting up the Undying Ones. But, you know, maybe it's something that hasn't occurred yet either. I mean,
well, the Undying are the deaths, kind of, so.
Or, you know, what about burning the masters?
No, here it says 3 fires you must light.
Yeah. 1
for life, 1 for death, and 1 for love. I think that implies 3 separate fires.
Oh, I have a take on this.
Go
for it. As for the first fire is obviously the pyre. And then as for the second fire, well, considering that later in this chapter that the Undying Ones tell Daenerys that, well, no, she sees herself beneath the mother of mountains and the crones bow before her. That's extremely similar to the scene in season 6 where she's in Vase Dothrak and the crones bow before her and all the... Right after, she burns the cows. So maybe the fire for death was killing the cows so that she could be the queen of the Great Grass Sea. Like, because that would be also fulfilling the other prophecy, uniting the Khalasars under one leader, you know, Khaleesi. And as for, and I think it actually says, in my copy, it says 1 to love, not necessarily 1 for love. So maybe like a fire that
I thought 2 love is later.
Would love. Let me see.
I thought the mount is to love.
No, it says 1 to love. 1 for life and 1 for death and 1 to love.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like I'm not 100% on this, so I kind of interpret it as she would love the fire itself. So so maybe it's not an actual fire, like it's a metaphor for fire.
Right.
So maybe she would produce a child, and that child would be the fire that she's lighting, like the light of life or whatever. And you know, I know she thinks that she can't have a child, but at the end of A Dance with Dragons, it kind of looks like she had a miscarriage. Now you can say that she was sick of the bloody pucks or whatever it was called, but it kind of looks like she had a miscarriage, because she said she's like, this isn't the time that she like normally gets her period, and it's like exceptional. It's like a lot of blood. So it kind of looked like she had a miscarriage, Dario's baby, because of the berries that she ate, because she ate these weird berries and then she got like super sick, and yeah.
Well, but
so maybe she's not infertile.
Well, maybe. Well, she wasn't told that she would never be able to get pregnant. She was told that she would never have to have a child. So maybe she can get pregnant, but she'll never be able to carry it to term.
Good point, T.
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't want to really. I mean, I said that I think it could be something that it hadn't occurred yet, and my thought was what happened in season 6, because it has to be something that has significant weight, or else it wouldn't. You know, yeah, burning the masters, that kind of had some weight, but I don't think that's significant enough. Like it would have to be something like that. I just wasn't sure if it's actually going to happen, but I do think that it could be something we haven't seen yet in the books.
So Quinn, do you think that the Meiji was Muri, whatever, I hate names, that she was bullshitting her? That do you think that Dany will actually have a kid?
I don't know. I think it's a possibility, but I don't know. I mean, it would kind of be a shame, because she is the purest Targaryen alive right now. Like, she is the purest person with like Valyrian ancestry in the entire world right now, because the Targaryens inbred with each other and kept the lines as pure as possible. So it would be kind of a shame to see that bloodline kind of just like disappear.
It would.
But I don't know.
Even if Jon is part Targaryen, he doesn't look it. And I kind of like the Targaryen look.
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, he doesn't look it, but that doesn't really mean you're not Targaryen. I mean, like, I wouldn't say Dany's any more Targaryen than like
Well, I don't mean
Baelor Breakspear.
I don't mean that. I mean that if Jon is the one who, keeps on with the Targaryen line, the Valyrian features will probably fade.
Well, I'm trying to. I know we've had Targaryens without Valyrian features before.
Well, yeah. Well, remember Baelor Breakspear.
Yeah, that's what I just mentioned.
Dornish.
But he did have kids. Right? They died.
Yeah,
they died of the sickness, though, right?
Yeah, they died, and that's how you get Maekar and Aegon being king, because.
And they both had, even though they were both even though both of them had half Targaryen parents, they still got the Targaryen features.
But there was always one Targaryen with the features. Dany's the only official Targaryen with the features that we know. Like Jon, if Jon doesn't have a kid with Dany, he'll have it with someone else, someone who has no Targaryen blood. So if there's two people and neither of them have the Targaryen features, it's gonna fade away.
Oh, let me look. Let me look at Baelor Breakspear's kids, what they look like. But in the meantime, does anyone else have anything more to say about the fires to light, or should we move on to the mounts that she has to? 3 mounts she must ride.
Yeah, who's Dany riding?
Oh,
I didn't like how that sounded, Don Willie. Be careful.
I think Tink is thinking it as a more of a literal thing, like mounting Silver, mounting Drogon. What do you think, Tink? Lead us off with these mounts she must ride. One to bed, one to dread, and one to love.
Okay. Well, this one is just I'm with Don Willie. I hate guessing this kind of stuff. The one to bed, Don Willie was joking, but I actually do think it's Drogo. It says bed, and he would. Yes, let's not get. I think it's to dread. I think that's Drogon. I think she's gonna lose control of Drogon at some point. Or she's gonna go crazy, like something in the battle dread. I think that's Drogon. We've already know that the dragons are capable of doing. We've all read the descriptions of Harrenhal and what happened, and the Battle of Fire, and the Dance of Dragons. I think that's Drogon. And love. God, I have no idea about that one. I have no idea.
All right, Quinn, what do you think about these? Well, first, Tink, so you think that mounts have different meaning for each of these? Because you said mount. I mean, obviously, a mount for Drogon, mounting Drogon is different than mounting Drogo.
Yes.
Okay, so
it can be interpreted in different ways.
All right, Quinn, what do you think? Quinn there? Or how about JB? What do you think?
I think the one to bed might be Hisdar, because she has to do it not out of a place for love, but just she needs to do it for what she thinks she needs to do in Marine. The one to dread, I do agree that it is probably Drogon, and the one to love is Drogo. Now, if it is all to be interpreted a single way, since I have another theory involving Euron being in the Bride of Fire section, that maybe Euron is the one to dread, because obviously she would dread bedding Euron, and that maybe Drogo was the one to bed, and then the one to love may be something that we haven't seen yet. So I have kind of two interpretations of what those three things could mean.
The dread pirate Euron.
Sorry for that, guys.
No problem.
Okay, so as far as the 3 mounts, the one that she must ride, I did think was Drogo. I mean, the one to bed, the one to bed I thought was Drogo. And the one to dread, now I think this can be interpreted a few different ways. Like, is she riding it to her dread, as in she's going to face dread, or is she writing it to create dread, or is she writing it to like a scene of dread, like a battle zone or something like that? So I think it could be interpreted a lot of different ways. And the one to love, now that one's way more confusing. I'm not really sure on that one.
Fuck it, I'm gonna go with all of the pop culture shit. You know, all of the shit you would see on like Reddit or like people who give zero fucks about the books. And I'm gonna say Drogo is the one to bed, Hizdar is the one to dread, and John is the one to love. Fuck it.
Man, you think Hizdar is that dreadful, huh?
I mean, look, remember her whole thing is she's trying to produce an heir in order to get the Sons of the Harpy, you know, because remember she's talking with Dario about how, like, yeah, he's my king, you know, or the king consort or whatever from Marine. Eventually I'm gonna have to sleep with him. You know, I'm not really digging it too tough, but you know that it's what's gotta happen. And
I mean, it's really hard to interpret all these visions before it's done. You know, it's really hard to do that. Yeah, and plus we all, you know, especially when we're only halfway through, and we all know that George is really going to write like 4 more books.
Yep.
He
says 2 more, but
at the rate that he's gonna die before he finishes.
I mean, to think about it. Hey. First it was 3, then it was 5, then it was 7, then now it's going to be 8.
Hey, I'll take it all. He wants to keep writing. I'm down for it.
I'm down for the 2.
Yeah, he's not a young man.
He's from New Jersey.
They never die.
New Jersey, people from New Jersey don't just fucking die until they're like 90 because they're just too stubborn to fucking die. Okay.
He's 68, as Quinn
He's
just
68.
pointed out.
I mean,
in 23 years, if he's got 4 books to go, yeah, by the time that he's 90, he still hasn't written them.
Wild cards. That's what he's going to be writing.
I was making a joke. That's all. I was making a joke.
Well, listen, George, trust me, George ain't gonna die no time soon. People from Jersey are too damn stubborn to die. Trust me, I've studied people from Jersey. I don't know why, but I have. And
yeah, that's because you're a New Yorker. You've got a prejudice against New Jersey.
No, I've actually lived in New Jersey for a little while. I liked it. You know, I don't know if I would go back, but you know, I got no problem with New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
New Jersey sucks. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Where are you from, Quinn?
Huh?
Where are you from?
I'm from Georgia.
All right, so
I miss being I miss not being the only non-American.
Well, anyways, so those are that's what we had to say about the Mount. So then we get the treasons. 3 treasons she will know: 1 for blood, 1 for gold, and 1 for love. That love keeps coming up over and over and over. How about that, JB? What do you think?
Well, yeah, a lot of people, I've heard people think that Jorah betrayed her for gold. Jorah didn't betray her for gold, I don't think.
She thinks it was what's his name, Brown Ben Plum.
Yeah, Brown Ben. It definitely wasn't Brown Ben Plum because he doesn't matter enough. Yeah, I think Dario will definitely be a betrayal. I've penned that guy from the start as I had a lot of theories on him during the season, but that didn't turn out all right. But I believe that guy's a bad egg, so he'll be a betrayal, I believe. Obviously, 1's for blood. I believe Miriam Asger covers that. So yeah, I don't know exactly, but I do believe that Dario will be one of them. Yeah, what do you guys think?
Don Willie, tell us your thoughts about the treasons, not New Jersey.
Okay, so So the treasons. All right. So you have one for gold. What was the one for love? What was the other one?
The first one was for blood.
For blood. Okay. So for
Blood of my blood.
So all right. So blood. You know, it's either going to be one of the Dothraki who left her after Drogo died, or it was for Miri Mazdor. One for gold. I don't know if it's gonna be Dario that betrays her for money. You know, Dario's chilling right now, and what could they really offer Dario that he couldn't get from Daenerys? You know, he's still in a cushy position right now, so I can't see it being him. Brown Ben Plum, maybe not. I think it might be somebody in Westeros. Like when she actually gets there, that betrays her for like a lordship. Like, oh, you know, if you fight on my side against Daenerys, right now I'll give you a lordship when we win the war. You know, to stop the Targaryens from taking over again. And the one for love. As much as I hate to do it, I'm gonna go with Tony Teflon's theory of John making her Nisa, only because I don't have anything better right now.
See, I think
No, I hate that theory.
I think narratively, for betrayal to mean something, it has to be someone that really matters to her. And right now, that's Barristan, Dario, Jorah. Like it has to have weight. A betrayal has to have weight. So I think it's one of those three. Might make up two of them. That's what I think.
I mean, does it necessarily have to be a treason against her? Could it be just treason?
No, I think it has to be towards her to be meaningful. If it's not towards her, it wouldn't affect her directly. It wouldn't be as, I don't know.
Quinn, what do you got?
As far as the treasons, once for blood, I'm pretty sure that was Miri Mazdur, and once for gold, I've always kind of thought that would be Dario, but I haven't really thought about it a lot. And once for love, I'm not really sure on that one.
So I've got a theory in the one for love. I think blood, we've already said Miri Maz, however the hell you pronounce
Miri
her name.
Mazdor, there's no set pronunciations.
Her, the Meiji that she burns. I think blood, I think that one's quite obvious. The gold, I have absolutely no idea. That one I've got no idea. But love, I think it's going to be Jorah. I think Jorah is a very important character for her. You know, after Drogo, he's been with her from like the beginning of her story. He was there with Drogo, with the dragons, and he's gone, but he's clearly fighting back to get back to her. And I'm certain that she's gonna grant him back because he's so important to her, and he does love her so much. Is there any character in the books that loves Dany as much as Jorah does? And she's constantly depending on her, and there's a moment in which she even says, like, I wish I could love him as much as he loves me. Like, there is no character that we doubt that loves, and I don't think it's in a good, healthy way. And I think he kind of is a bit obsessed with her, and just I've never liked that love that he has towards her. Just I've always found it very disturbing, which is why I think that a betrayal from him after he comes back to her, and I think it would be one of the ones that would hit her the closest.
Interesting.
But as you probably realize by now, I don't think very well of Jorah. So.
Well, Jorah's a giant loser in the books. I mean, he's portrayed a lot nicer in the show, but in the books, he's a massive loser.
Yeah, that's a bit thing. That's the thing that frustrates me a bit. I talk with only show watchers, and I'm like, oh, I love Jorah. I'm like, clearly you haven't been reading the books.
Yeah.
Clearly
you can tell someone's a book lover if they like, and a show watcher if they like Jorah.
But one of the things that I did want to say about this treason is that I don't know if I'm the only one that happens to, but it drives me nuts because this obsesses her. From everything that she remembers in the House of the Undying, the treasons are the thing that she remembers the most, and she keeps repeating it over and over and over again. Every person that she meets, every decision, every action that everyone takes, she's like, is this going to be the one? Is he going to be the one that betrays me? You see, oh my God, there's a point that I just wanted to scream, especially when she's in Marine, over in every single bloody chapter.
In these visions, the treasons plus Quaith's, in conjunction with Quaith's sayings that she tells her, I think it goes back to what I was saying about George talking about self-fulfilling prophecy and how like prophecies can like cloud your mind and make you paranoid. It's the same thing that's happening with Stannis. I think it's kind of a mirror image with Dany. I think that she's gonna be fueled by paranoia.
Mm-hmm.
Not only them, but Cersei. Remember Cersei? That she's going nuts and she keeps remembering the prophecy?
Yeah.
Right.
But I think Ileana made a good point last time. Cersei might have just been nuts long before that prophecy. So.
Yeah, but 1 is one thing. 2 is a coincidence. 3, it's a pattern.
3! That number 3 again, huh? That number
3 is
3.
a pattern. And we've got Stannis, Dany, and Cersei. And Stannis, it's not nuts. He's actually too strict and too rigid to go crazy.
So those are all pretty good takes. I mean, we really don't know any of these means. We're just gonna have to wait and read. We'll probably be shocked. None of us will be right on anything. On all, you might be right on some of them, but we'll be wrong on probably most of them. George will probably surprise us. I personally like to keep my stuff streamlined. This 3 thing is really getting to me, and the fact that love happens on each of them. It leads me to believe, at least just me personally, I know y'all are going to disagree, but I'm thinking that they're all the same. Like the first is a group. Like the first group, all the same. Like life, bed, and blood are all the same. The second, death, dread, and gold are all the same. And then the third, love, 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 are all the same. And I'll get to who I think they are in a little bit, but in the meantime, we'll move on. I will come back to this for mine, but the next part, I've also noticed a whole 3 sentences, and then they call her a name of something, and I think that name is important. Like we see a vision, they show her visions, they show her, Viserys getting the gold crown, they show her. A tall lord with copper skin and silver gold hair stood beneath the banner of a fairy stallion and a burning city behind him. Obviously, that's her child, Rhaego, that was, whatever happened to him, sacrificed to blood magic or whatever. And then rubies flew like drops of blood from the chest of a dying prince, and he sank his knees in the water, and his last breath murmured a woman's name. Obviously, this is Rhaegar, and he's probably saying Lyanna's name, which would be an unfamiliar name to Dany. And then they say daughter of death. They call her daughter of death. All these 3 visions are connected to death, in my opinion. It's her death of her brother, death of her 2 brothers, and the son that she could have had, but instead died. What do you guys think? Do y'all agree that these are all connected, or they're all related to death, or do you have a different take? Let me know what you guys think. Quinn, you got something? Tinker, JB, Don Willie?
In relation to them being related to death?
Related to death, related in general, or if you have a different take on any of them altogether.
I mean that whole section, starting with the phantoms, and her seeing Viserys and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Until you get to Daughter of Death.
Okay.
In my opinion, all three of them are connected, and they are related to death. That's just my opinion.
They are all related to death. And obviously the woman's name is Lyanna.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't have anything to say really.
Tinker, JB, Willie, nothing.
They're all connected. I mean, they're all in a row. It's that I view the House Undying in different sections, and like I view that as its own section. Like that's a separate section, and they're all connected.
Agreed. So let's go to the next section, which was
I had one thing I want to say. Yeah, I hadn't thought about the connection until you just brought it up with all three of them being related to death. But now that you break it down like that, yeah, I mean it's obviously that that it's showing her things that have happened in the past, things that could have happened in the future, that will never become, because it's, one death that she's heard about but never saw, one death that she witnessed, and then a life that never came to be because of dying, prematurely. So I think the House of Undying is supposed to also represent past, present, and future as well. And so these visions, when they're lumped together, it's like this is something from before that you never fully witnessed, but you heard about, something that you actually did experience, and something that either you won't get to experience because it won't come to fruition, or it's something that's not going to happen until you're dead already.
Yeah. I mean, they pretty much said it could be things that will never come to pass, could come to pass, past, present, yeah. So our next set was the Slayer of Lies, and I think all these have to do with something of being false, in my opinion. So we got first we got glowing like a sunset, a red sword was raised in the hand of a blue-eyed king who cast no shadow, which I think most of us agree it was Stannis. If anyone has any different opinions, let me know. A clock dragon swayed on the poles amidst a cheering crowd. I think that is going to be Fagon, because I think he's going to sit on the throne, and he's going to be cheered for it. But we all know he's false. He's not the real Aegon, or at least we suspect, but we don't know. A smoking tower, a great stone beast took wing, breathing shadow fire. This I'm not too sure, but if we're going into the whole lie thing, what are your take on this? Do you think this all the lies fits? You got the false king in Stannis. You got a false king in Aegon. I'm not too sure what the third one is. Any takers?
Quinn, go ahead, but after you, I think I got something on the third one.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say something. I did a video about an ice dragon one time, and I brought this up. Okay. Look, an ice dragon. Okay, so the others are associated with darkness, the long night and stuff. So shadow fire, maybe like dark fire, ice fire. I don't know. This is kind of a long shot. I don't know, but maybe she's seeing like an ice dragon, or maybe she's seeing whatever Summer saw come out of Winterfell at the end of this book. Those are my two ideas.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Because it talks about hold on, let me just go back to get the correct. So stone beast flying from a smoking tower, breathing shadow fire. Now think about it like this, right? So Summer sees a big giant winged snake coming from the ruins of Winterfell, but he can't really fully make it out because it's kind of behind the shadows of the smoke, but he can see it, with the trail of fire blazing across the sky, but he really can't see it though, right? So the whole thing is shadow fire, and that to me, kind of symbolizes an ice dragon coming from the ruins of Winterfell. And what would be the craziest thing if the actual dragon is named Winterfell?
Oh, I had an idea. Okay, but go for it, James. I had an idea.
Yeah. Well, 1 and 2 is obvious. 1 and 2 is obvious, and I actually do think that 2 is kind of confirmation for me that Fagon is Fagon, not because it says like a false king. It's because he's a false dragon, so he's Fagon. 3. Now, to me, this just kind of hit in my head when we were talking about the ice dragon. Who in the story talks about stone dragons all the time? Melisandre.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
maybe,
yeah.
Yeah. My bad. But yeah, she's the one always bringing up stone dragons. She goes on with the sacrifice thinking she's going to be calling on a stone dragon for good. Nope, she calls out an ice dragon for evil, and shit happens. So I think that's kind of the route that might be going, potentially.
Could be. I just had an idea. Or did you want to say something, Tate, before?
You go first.
I mean, I just kind of had an idea. Like, you mentioned that whole shadow coming out at the end of that, but that could also be relating to the burning of Winterfell and the false rulers of the North taking over, the Boltons. It could be. I mean, they would fit that false theme. Like, Ramsay, they got a fake Arya. They got a fake their whole rule over the North is fake. So it could be that too. Now that would fit the whole Slayer of Lies thing. I mean, I don't know what that has anything to do with Dany, but at least it would fit the Slayer of Lies part.
My only question on that is, where does the dragon fit in? How does any symbolism of the dragon appear with the Boltons?
Oh, I mean, it's just that they caused that smoking tower. They caused that shadow, that dark fire, which is just really just a fire. I mean, in my opinion, it was just a fire. It was just, you're looking at it through a wolf's eyes. I didn't think it really meant too much. So,
well, there is a line that says a great stone beast took wing. I guess that's where I don't know how that fits in with that.
It could also
maybe there is a way.
It could also be who else? It could also be Grayscale going all across the. But how's that related to lies? I don't know.
And I think that's reaching a bit. What does it have to do with the dragon symbolism?
Great stone beast, like a giant stone plague going over the land. Could be thought of as a great stone beast.
I don't know. Anyways, I agree with the first two. I think the first two are quite self-explanatory, and first Dennis, then Fagon, and from a smoking tower, a great stone beast took wing, breathing shadow fire. And Jerry, it turns out that James, you didn't completely steal my idea, just part of it. I'm kind of reaching a bit, but as I said, Melisandre is always talking about waking the dragon, and she has a lot of shadow magic, a lot of, like the shadow baby, and she's so related to fire. And it's a bit reaching because right now she's at the wall, but we've seen we've read the descriptions of Dragonstone and how it's a stone beast, and it's the entire castle is made out of stone, and there's dragons there, like shapes of dragon. So what if she actually manages to bring one of those stone statues kind of to life? It would be a fake dragon. It wouldn't be a real dragon. And it would kind of have that shadow fire power that she has. She would actually have to do a great sacrifice to bring, something from stone to life, but it would fit. From a smoking tower, a great stone beast took wing. It would be made of stone. It would be a beast, and the breathing shadow fire kind of fits her magic. Why the hell she would go back to Dragonstone, or how she would get back to Dragonstone from the wall? I don't know, unless she does their magic and it wakes up in Dragonstone and flies to the wall. I don't know, but it's what came to mind because the description of Dragonstone, of all the stone and the shapes of dragon, and her talk about waking the dragon, I'm like, oh, that's it reminded me to that. And it is about uncovering lies, and if it is an ice dragon, even if it is the opposite of a fire dragon, it would still be a real dragon. It wouldn't be fake. It would just be the opposite of a fire dragon.
I just thought about something. Melisandre, her power is greatest at the wall. She's been doing all this damn glamoring. What if there is some way, like, what if she sees the ice dragon and somehow glamours the dragon so that when it shoots the fire, it looks like shadowy fire instead of it looking like the ice that it's supposed to look like.
What would be the purpose?
I mean, because you got to think about it, right? If her whole thing is she's supposed to be against the Great Other and the White Walkers, then if she has that kind of weapon in her possession, or if she sees this ice dragon and she somehow has a connection with it, she's not going to want people to think that this whole time that she's been preaching about R'hllor, that now she is possibly taking up residence, against him, because if her whole thing has been preaching all this fire magic the entire time, but yet she finds more connection with an ice dragon than anything, maybe the lie that she tells is, hey, I found another dragon. And while people see, a dragon that's like Daenerys's, it turns out that it's actually an ice dragon. And maybe it's when the ice dragon clashes with Daenerys's dragon that we, get the truth exposed.
I think she's too faithful. I think if she realized that her power is somehow coming from the Great Other, she would rather burn herself.
Nah. I mean, I just can't see that, because at the end of the day, look, she wants to win whatever the war is that's going on. And I think that if she thinks that she can manipulate things to where it's like, all right, even if I just tell this one little lie, because look, think about it, right? Look what she did with Mance Rayder and the Lord of Bones. She was willing to tell that lie in order to help facilitate her goal. So I think it's not beneath her to lie about finding a dragon, saying it was sent by R'hllor, knowing that she has control over it, only to find out later that it was actually an ice dragon this entire time.
I disagree, because when she was doing the whole mace thing, she still believed 100% that it came from her power from R'hllor, that she was doing everything from R'hllor. That she's a fanatic. She believes faithfully. This in no way did the whole glamour of mace challenged her belief of her connection to R'hllor. Finding out that she has a connection with the ice dragon would put into question her devotions, her connection, her beliefs to R'hllor, and I don't think that she could handle that. I think she's a fanatic, and I think fanatics are dangerous, and I don't think she would take it well. I think she'd see an ice dragon, the first thing she would want to do is destroy it.
Within Melisandre's mind, everything that she is doing is justified. She wholeheartedly believes that she is doing the will of God. Like, she believes that with her entire heart, and like she believes that her power comes from God. She is a fanatic. She definitely believes.
I mean, the thing that I'm saying here is, I think if presented with an opportunity to further her cause, I don't think that it would be beneath her to say, okay, here is something that to the naked eye would be representative of the thing I'm supposed to be fighting. But yet somehow I have the power to control this thing. But since I want people to still believe as I believe, I'm going to throw this glamour on it so that people will still follow me. Because if people saw it as an ice dragon, saw her with the ice dragon, they would call her into question, which might which might make her call her connection into question. So I think it's anything to perpetuate in her own mind and to perpetuate to the world that her power comes from R'hllor and nothing else. And I think that this is where we could find out, that that R'hllor isn't real and neither is the Great Other, is when she actually has a connection to an ice dragon as opposed to a fire dragon. I know it seems a little far-fetched.
We'll agree to disagree.
So let's get on to the next category, a set of three. That magic number 3 that we keep seeing over and over and over. So we get to the Brides of Fire, which in my opinion are the men that are going to be in the main men that are going to be of Dany's life. Like his daughter, in my opinion, don't even count. He's so worthless. So we have her silver was trotting through the grass to a darkling stream beneath the sea of stars. I mean, to me, that's obviously, her riding with the gift that Rogar gave her, the horse, on the sea of stars, out in the direct sea. A corpse stood at the prow of a ship, eyes bright in his face, gray lips smiling sadly, which we know now from the Forsaken chapter. Well, we don't know, but we have a very strong suspicion that this is the Dampier, which makes me think that Euron is going to be coming pretty heavily into Dany's life and will be the second man in her life. Followed by, and then lastly, a blue flower grew from a chink in a wall of ice and filled the air with sweetness, which I never thought Jon was that sweet, but, this is obviously Jon.
That's because you're not a woman.
I guess I know nothing. So, as a woman, Tinker, let us know your thoughts here on this Bride of Fire. By the way, I think Jon is the last one. I think he's going to be. I'm a believer of Tony Teflon that Jon will kill Euron. He'll take his Valyrian armor, and he'll be the new love in Dany's life.
That I'm okay with. Jon is a really good option, like husband-wise. Like from all of the men that appear in the show.
That being a zombie.
Like I don't even say it. I wouldn't mind ending up with Jon. It's the second one that disturbs me. It's just, the first one was obviously Drogon because she already married him. She already got pregnant by him. His burning power brought the dragons. Like the first book was all about Drogo and Hera. So that one, there's no need to question. And the blue flower, a blue flower grew from a chink in a wall of ice. It has to be Jon. Who else fits that description? And the second one, look, I don't like Return. I think he's gonna be burned to hell when he gets to Marina and demands to marry her. But I'm almost wishing that it's him because I hate Euron's guts. I hate him so much, and the more I read about him, the more I hate him. Like it's like exponentially, my hate for him grows higher and higher. And the fact and the thought that Dany's gonna be taken by this man and forced to unfortunately, I think that's what's gonna happen. But I'm gonna hate George when I have to read that chapter. I will hate him.
Prepare that haterade for it because it's happening.
The second I read the Forsaken chapter and Aeron was tied up to the prow of the ship, I knew that was connection to in my mind anyway, it was a connection to the Bride of Fire. I do think Euron's plan to somehow get the dragon sway under his control will work, and he will leverage that on Dany, and that's the reason why it's characterization for Euron. I believe that's going to be the first thing that she's going to see when she sees Euron come into her life is his silence, coming into view with this fucking dead guy on the front of his ship, because Euron is sadistic enough to use Aeron as a hood ornament for his ship. Like, I could see Euron getting off on that, seeing his brother tied up to the ship as a hood ornament. Like that's Euron's style. And yeah, I essentially believe what Tony was saying, and I think that's what's going to go down. Yeah, I think without a doubt that Euron is the second part of the Bride of Fire prophecy.
Quinn, you got any thoughts on that?
I pretty much agree with most of what you guys said. The corpse is definitely the damp hair. The blue flower seems like Jon Snow to me. Bride of Fire. I hope it's not Euron. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Don Willie?
Okay, well, see, here's the only reason why Euron seems a little off. Okay, so Euron is obviously going to show up to Meereen with the ships and all that stuff. He's going to show up with Pyat Pree, Pyat Pree, his brother, and whoever else possibly strapped to the front of his boat. Like, how does he convince Daenerys that he's not batshit crazy, and that the two of them being together is a good thing until he winds up being batshit crazy and Jon, until he reveals it to her and Jon winds up having to kill him? That's the question that I have.
I got an answer for you, sir. She is going to know that he's batshit crazy, but Victarion is going to be dumb enough to blow that fucking horn, even though he's going to get fucking killed from it. And Euron is the owner of that horn. So the dragons are going to be under his sway. That's the only way I could see Dany getting involved with Euron, because Euron is going to have control of the dragons, and he's going to leverage that against her. That's the only way, because there's no other way that it's going to happen.
So,
also, we also think in this world that marriage doesn't have to be consensual from both sides. I don't think she's going to marry him willingly. I think he's going to drag her kicking and screaming.
Look what happened between Sansa and Tyrion. It's not like she was like, "Oh, I'm so in love with Tyrion. Let me marry him."
What?
So
they were totally in love.
Oh,
but you know what? So maybe going back to the one to dread, maybe the one to dread is Euron.
That's exactly what okay. I'm gonna go back to what I was talking about when I said the three things. I think they're all related. I think this is kind of like regurgitate. I think all of them. I think the first category of all those is Drogon, the one for life, one to ride, one for one to bed, and one to blood. I think that's all all of those are Drogon. I think the death, because I think Euron is working for the Great Other, and he's going to bring him getting with Dany is what's going to like light a fire of death in Westeros, in my opinion. And she's going to dread every minute of it because he's the dread pirate Euron. And treason for gold. I think that makes me think that he is going to take Viserion, who has gold. He's kind of like the gold dragon. His horns are gold, whatnot. And then love. 3-5. She's gonna light a fire in Jon. He's gonna be like Jim Morrison. Come on, baby, light my fire. And that's how he's gonna He's gonna kill Euron and take that. And then they're also mount to ride again. Jon, treason, love, Nisa with Jon. So there you go. I think. So all of them are in those. It's just like a.
So there you have it, folks. We have cracked the code. We have cracked the code on this.
Crack the code.
Euron.
I disagree. Jon's not gonna kill Dany. I really freaking hope not.
I hope not too.
That would be bittersweet, though.
You're gonna throw
that Jon Snow replaced Dany in book 1. And we've been seeing Jon Snow this entire time, but we thought it was Dany.
Wait.
Theory. No, I'm just kidding.
We got some Mantis Rhaegar shit going on.
We also have to, pull off is when Euron is gonna, Victoria's gonna blow the horn. Euron's gonna take over the dragons, and at that point, gonna pull up the mask and be like, It's me, Austin. I was Dario this whole time. I'm the Harpy. I'm also, you know what? I'm Mance as well. Might as well be.
I mean, yeah, pretty much ever since the Forsaken chapter, like Euron's profile went up, and I do think that some of these connections could be in regard to Euron. But I do think Euron is a metagame bad, and some of these connections can be fit with Euron for sure. His profile went up. His Q rating.
Let's just say we just broke the code, broke the wheel. Let's say. All right. So, anyone have any more thoughts about the Bride of Fire or any of the three? Because I think after that we just get into some kind of random visions. All right, well, let's go to the random visions here. So, Shadow's World and Dance Inside a Tent, Boneless and Terrible. Obviously, that's, you know, the Mary Mazdur stuff. A little girl ran barefoot towards the big house with the red door. Again, going back to the red door, she's seeing some road past. Mary Mazdur shrieked in flames, a dragon bursting from her brow. You know, that's the pyre. Behind the silver horse, behind the silver horse, the bloody corpse of a naked man bounced and dragged. Obviously, the merchant man that's the wine merchant. So, I mean, she's just seeing past events. I don't think there's really too much special going on here. Anyone disagree with that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So I don't think we really need to discuss that. A white lion. I think this actually might fit into that same not too special. A white lion ran through the grass, taller than a man. Now, the reason I kept it separate, I think it's just that those white lions. I think they're called her car or her. Correct card, whatever there's white lines, and Drogon made a pelt for Dany. I think that fits into there. It's not a big deal, but there's also people who think that this might be Tyrion as well. What do you guys think? Is this nothing special like what I think, or is this maybe Tyrion?
It's probably not special, but I can see how they can draw the connection, just because there's a lot of references to Tyrion being a large man or a small man that casts a large shadow. You have. Mm-hmm. Makaro, you know, saying that he's a giant, or the ghost of the High Heart, you know, so there's other imagery with Tyrion being a giant. So I don't know. Maybe there is, but maybe it's nothing. It's hard to say.
I mean, I would imagine that it's Jaime, because Jaime wears the white cloak and he's a lion. So, I mean, that, you know.
Yeah, it could be Jaime. Tinker, Quinn, anyone disagree? I mean, I think it's just a white lion. Because, I mean, we did get a white lion pelt from Drogon.
I mean, I think it maybe could be Tyrion because he's in the east, right? And the Dothraki Sea is over there, and the grass gets pretty tall. I mean, maybe he was running through the grass. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I'm convinced that Tyrion and her are gonna be working. Like, we can already see that he's there in Reread. And that he's clearly, we've seen in the sample chapter that he's turning the sellswords in favor of Dany, and I think he's very clearly going to join her. So I think it's Tyrion. I think it's Tyrion. I think that they're destined to meet, and that I don't think it's Jaime. Because why would Jaime be? You know, what would be the mean? You know, if he was a white lion that's burning, then yeah, that would be Jaime. Because I think she wants to off him because she killed her father. But no, I think it's Tyrion. I think Tyrion is kind of like symbolizing that they're gonna meet eventually.
Could be future, because I think these next two ones are going to be future as well. Let me know if y'all want to get to it, or if y'all had more to say about the lion. All right, so I'll get to the next one. Beneath the mother of mountains lie a line of naked crones crept from a great lake and kneeled shivering before her, their gray heads bow. And I think that's going to be in the future when I don't think it's going to be like the show. I know Quinn might think that, but I don't think we're going to get the fucking Carrie scene in the show. I don't think George is going to steal from Stephen King the way Dan and Dave have no problems doing. I think this is going to be more like this. This is the crones are going to bow to Dany, and it's going to happen that, you know, the womb of the world, mother of mountains, and that's going to mean the Dothraki are going to be on her side. Any thoughts to anyone? Have any different thoughts on that one? Tinker.
Well, I don't think it's gonna happen exactly like in the show, because he has a lot more time. He has a lot more, you know, he has a book. He can write as much as he wants. While in the show, they kind of have to speed through it, and they kind of change a lot of things. But I don't think that just simply because the crone declare her the queen and they kneel before her, then suddenly all the Khalasars are gonna follow them. Just
Yes.
I don't think.
Well, if she's riding a big fucking dragon, they might.
Well, yeah, but
And they pronounce her as the stallion that mounts the world. They might. If the crows
I think that it'll be like kind of a version of what happened in the show, because I think they have changed the show a lot. It has diverged a lot, but I think Dany having every Khalasar in the East is kind of too major of a plot point.
Yeah,
to change.
I mean, I agree with that, because I thought of that before the show, that she was going to get the Dothraki on her side, and I think it's going to be more the crones pronouncing her as the stallion that mounts the world. And what's the cow going to do? Is the cow going to be like, oh no, these crones don't know what these old ladies don't know what they're talking about?
I mean, could they really convince the cows to follow a woman?
I mean, they convinced the cows to do all kinds of other things. The cows are very they're very superstitious and believe in the crone's words.
I mean, I don't know.
No, but come on, look, they're savages, and look how they treat women and think about women. No, I'm completely agree with Quinn.
But we're not just talking about any woman. Remember, we're talking about a woman with riding a big fucking dragon. She's riding the biggest fucking horse they can imagine.
I don't fucking care. I think she's gonna have to kill them. I think that it's gonna be not gonna be like in the show.
It's violent.
I think she's
a dragon can be killed, and they may have already been hunting Drogon. Like, why were they there? Why did they just so happen upon her?
That's a good point. And they're also the best equipped to kill a dragon too, as they can shoot an arrow into a dragon. You just got to hit the eye, and they're some of the best arrow shooters on horseback. So.
No, I agree. I think that instead of doing it like herself and just standing there, because we already know from George that she's not actually fireproof, that it's like in very special magical occasions. But she's got a freaking dragon. I think she's going to use Drogon to kill the Khals. And I think everyone, or the crones seeing her kill the Khals, you know, because it's kind of like, you know, the Dothraki are very savage. If you manage to kill the Khal, you're the Khal. And if she manages to kill all the Khals with a huge, massive dragon, then you're it. And I think that's what's going to make the crones pronounce her what she is.
Hey, this is the same thing about the Fremen, that they're nothing but savages, and that Paul is going to have to kill the top of them to be the man. But he's like, do I kill my best general when I'm going in to invade? No. How do you like that, Queen?
Wait, what did you just say? Like, it cut out for me for a second.
Oh, I said, like, yeah, they also called the Fremen savages too. And they said Paul was going to have to challenge Stilgar and the other top ones. And he's like, no, I'm not going to challenge them. I'm going to, they're my top generals for the invasion. So
I mean, because they viewed, like, the Fremen at that point, like, Paul was their god. So, like, if he says something, like, they're going to be like, yeah.
But that's why, in my opinion, I think the crones could make Dany their god. If the crones,
I think it would be difficult.
Oh,
I think she'll have to at least kill Pono or whatever. That's his name.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, she'll probably kill that dude. But I think the rest.
Yeah, she's have to kill. She's have to kill some of them. I don't think it's going to be like the show where they, you know, had that moment that I wasn't completely fond of. But I do think that she could utilize Drogon to kill some Khals that are necessary to kill.
Listen,
I actually enjoyed that scene. I kind of liked seeing them all burn to hell.
It was a great scene to watch for what it was.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm thinking that she might wind up challenging Pono on his own, and then wind up burning him and his horse alive. And once they see not only that he's dead, but his horse is dead, they're gonna be like, okay.
Yeah, you mix in her like kind of like going to prison, just beating the biggest guy down. She beats down Pono, and then she got the crones on her side. That's a pretty big to get everyone in line.
Get on the dragon, give an "I am Daenerys Targaryen Stormborn" speech, and then
yeah, like it'll actually make sense this time for her to get on the dragon and saying, it'll make sense now instead of just, oh, we're walking. Well, it's a good time to take a speech.
I am Daenerys.
She's gonna demand a trial by combat, and Drogon's gonna be her champion.
Yeah,
Pono versus Dragon versus Drogon.
Very forced, but no, I still think they're all gonna die. I think all the calls are gonna die. I think they're all gonna die. I think they're all gonna die of Fury's death. Not the same as in the show, because as we already mentioned, she's not cracked. They're all gonna die.
God damn it, Jerry.
And they all sort of kind of need to die. Also,
they're wait. Look, this is my thing. The cows are the old way of doing things. Just like when Daenerys gets to Westeros, the nobles and the lord, that structure, that's the old way of doing things. Daenerys is a character that represents fire and rapid change. She is going to change the world rapidly. That's why she's the most mythic character in this entire series. Like, I always go to the beginning of A Feast for Crows when, like, you have all the guys at the Citadel and they're like talking, everyone's got their own different version of what happened, all these different myths about what's going on in the East with this girl with dragons. And they're like, oh no, these two can't be true at the same time, but it's all true because Daenerys as a character, she represents a myth. Like 1,000 years or 2,000 years or 5,000 years from now, people will still talk about Daenerys and what she did because it is incredible. It's an incredible story because she changed the world in such a short amount of time. Look at what she's done. She's like freed all these slaves in a matter of months. So I think that's what she does. She's supposed to change things drastically.
brought dragons to life after centuries.
But I thought Jon replaced Dany in the first book.
Well, that breaks a hole in my theory.
Well, you know what? And see, that's the only reason why the whole Nisa thing, I have kind of a hard time fully buying into that, because I have a theory that at the end of it, she's going to get offered to be the queen of Westeros. She's going to look around after the war is over and be like, I fought all this time, and look, I don't even really have a kingdom to rule. Fuck
Queen
this,
of the Ashes.
Yeah, fuck this Drogon. Drogon, let's go. We're going across the Sunset Sea.
Maybe George is gonna break social conventions, and Jon is Nisa. Heyo, on something.
Or she's gonna be offered the queenship. She's gonna be like, man, I couldn't even run a fucking city like Marine. How the hell am I gonna run these 7 kingdoms?
She was sabotaged like a motherfucker in Marine, and she had no help. Like, she barely.
Like she's gonna get. Well, she'll have some help in Westeros, but
she'll have I think she'll have help in Westeros. Definitely, I think she'll have the support of the common people, for sure, because the common people have not been happy since the time of Aerys.
She's gonna be like, you know what? This guy Peter Baelish is a lot smarter than me. I'm gonna let him rule.
Oh God.
He's gonna be like, he knows.
I can just see like Peter now. Daenerys, I can help you. No, and then she's just like sets him on fire with a dragon.
horrible death. No, I'm Tyrion is made to be hand of the queen. He's a king, queen, whatever. He's the smartest. He's the most, underestimated character. But he's just great. He's great in strategy, in knowledge, in playing people. He's made to be the hand of the king. And then he has the right. He's just got like there's this idealism, this desire to be, a good queen. She actually wants the best for the people. Her heart and her intentions are in the right, place. She just hasn't been taught shit, and she's been in like crazy situations, and she just hasn't, she's got dragons for one side, slaves that she has to rescue, places where she's never been, and she doesn't understand the culture. I think she just, once she gets to Westeros, she'll have Tyrion, and Tyrion will telling you, well, that's a shit idea, and she'll listen to him.
That's why she needs smarter people.
I mean, but look, let's be honest here, though, right? Yes, Tyrion is all of those things, but currently he is unstable. You know, the only person who's really not currently unstable when it comes to all this stuff,
Peter Baelish,
the once and future king Peter Baelish, and you know, I just.
So it's gonna be. Yeah, I mean, pretty much she's gonna pass it off to Baelish. Tyrion's gonna be the hand. Varys might get involved, and they'll have like a Spock, McCoy.
Oh, shut up! What were you going to
Kirk trio going on there?
Tell me that you're not thinking of Peter Baelish.
Nobody even knows what Peter Baelish is doing. Like,
but that's
like
I do know one thing though, that whatever Peter Baelish is doing is better for people trying to rise up against the monarchy.
Oh, please!
You know what? The monarchy needs to fall.
It does, and that's
just
why
like
you
slavery.
That's why you go Baelish.
Peter Baelish doesn't want the monarchy to fall. He just wants to.
He wants to rule over everything.
But he wants to knock down the monarchy to where someone like a Peter Baelish could rule over it.
No, he wasn't a person.
People like Peter Baelish shouldn't rule over shit. Like, those people should be in prison.
And this is how a House the Undying chapter turns into a Peter Baelish rant.
He's worse than all of them. He's just as bad. And he also came from a noble family, a small noble family, but he wasn't a peasant. He wasn't a farmer.
Hey,
he was breaking on River Run.
Breaking classes. That's true. That's truly breaking the wheel.
Oh please! He was raised in River Run. He was fostered there. He's not some peasant boy that has risen through the ranks. Please,
he was told he was not good enough.
He got into.
He was not like the butcher's boy.
Yeah, exactly.
The butcher's boy is going to be the next king.
Queen is with me.
First step, Baelish. Next step, butcher's boy.
Baelish is going down.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, though, you know, you have to admit that he's
an asshole. Yeah, I admit it. I agree.
He has planned for Westeros to be as great as it possibly could be.
He's gonna make Westeros great again.
So selfish, you know.
All right,
about the people.
Speaking of freeing people, let's get to this last vision here. And there's 10,000 slaves lifted bloodstained hands as she raced by on her silver, riding like the wind. Mother, they cry, mother, mother. And which we all know happens in Storm of Swords is when she frees slaves. So
yeah,
that's one of a future prophecy that we got to see. We've already seen in the next book. At the time of this writing, we hadn't seen it yet, but we saw it. So, and then, unless anyone has anything to say about her freeing slaves, which I think we already kind of covered in this whole sidetrack thing, then we get to Drogon making all the Undying crispy and putting in. They're no longer the Undying; they're just now the Dying, and then they escape. Pyat Pree tries to come after them. He gets a whole lot of knives stuck in. Well, not a whole lot because he survives, but he gets a little bit of a knife in him. And Jorah comforts Dany, and she is comforted by his arms. The one time he's actually useful in the book, and probably the last.
Well, no, he saves Dany.
In what? When did he save Dany?
Let's go back to can I mention how freaking creepy that scene is when she just kind of snaps out of the vision and she's like all of them clawing at her and touching her and like, oh my god, that is like the worst rape nightmare anyone can wake up to. It's like, oh my god.
Do you know what I thought of?
Hey.
Do you know what I thought of? I don't know if you guys have ever seen this movie, but The Labyrinth with David Bowie. There's one scene where she falls down this like hole and there's like all these hands that are like touching her. That's what it reminded me of. Reminded me of that.
So like the NC-17 horror version of that.
Yeah, it was actually the second time Labyrinth reminded me, because like when we first saw the little dwarfs too, that remind me of Labyrinth.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, at least that scene gave birth to a great piece of art from the Song of Ice and Fire community.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic painting.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely Drogon gets the prize in that scene. Like burning them all to hell. Like, you go, Drogon. That's why I love the dragons.
And remember, he was just a baby at that time.
Go ninja, go ninja.
Go baby dragon, go baby dragon. And like it must be so nice to have pets like that. That or like the direwolves. You're like, yeah, they come with me, come with me. You know, if I get into trouble.
All right. Anyone have any more thoughts about that final creepy scene that we saw and Dany getting saved?
No,
Anyone?
Just if I was Dany, I'd have nightmares of that for like ever.
Well, she does. It's called the treason nightmares. Treason.
I mean, when it was all going down, I was thinking, well, because the first time I read it, like I said, I didn't watch season 3 yet or whatever. So I was like, she better find a way to get out of there quickly, or I was like, there's gonna be some ramifications, and it's kind of weird because there was a little bit, but not really. So yeah, my thought was like, they better get the fuck out of town at the time,
which is exactly what they did.
Yeah.
So, anyways, final thoughts, anyone? Any final thoughts about this chapter?
I think that this is possibly one of the worst chapters ever written in any fantasy novel.
I know, and the show did it so much better.
Yeah, absolutely.
The show was awesome.
The show's version was like,
yes.
It made
Fantastic.
This look like a children's book.
As they usually do.
Yeah, everything, even how it looked, it just, there's nothing similar. Is there anything similar at all? Like any of the visions, any of the, how did it looked like?
No.
There was
other than that, didn't they mention about what it would be like if they lived, if Drogo lived? I can't even. I forget.
Yeah, he was still a baby though. Like there's like.
So he wasn't a big fucking like silver-haired Dothraki. Like
she goes in a tent. She goes in a tent and she sees a little Indian-looking baby with Drogo, and it's like
there was literally.
Was it Indian or was it like?
I don't know what it was, but like it was racially ambiguous. I don't know.
It served no purpose, and it still has not served its purpose at all. They could have just had the 9 steal the dragons, and that could have been the plot line, because there was really no point of doing the House of the Undying in the show, because there's really been no ramifications from that, and no show watcher is talking about, oh man, the House of the Undying prophecies. You guys remember that? Like that no one even talks
when
about.
I first saw like Dany's dragons get taken in the show, I was like, oh man, that just makes her look so weak. Like all her people just got killed and her dragons got taken so easily. I was like, she looks so weak at this point. Like
she's just fucking screaming, "Where are my dragons?"
Like you have no power anymore. Like that doesn't work. That doesn't work anymore.
She got the power of fucking screaming.
If she didn't have Jorah, she'd be dead.
I'm looking at a picture and he's not racially ambiguous at all. He's white, but the hair is dark.
I didn't remember what he looked
like.
So
he's the opposite of the book. Instead, in the book where he's dark with his hair white,
here he's white with like blue eyes and black hair.
Really?
Really? So Daenerys got on with the Night's King, not Drogo, I see.
Oh crap.
But if you want
he's got like
if you want my opinion
dark hair and that's it. Everything else is Dany. At least that's, like the pictures are in great quality, the ones that I'm seeing here in Google. But yeah.
So essentially, if you want, she cheated on him with Craster.
Oh my god.
Well, let's not even go there.
Well, my final thoughts on the chapter is that it's one of the most atmospheric chapters. The scenery, the painting that George is painting is very creepy and atmospheric. I think it shows his talents as a writer in general, but as a horror writer as well. There's a lot of things to like about it, and it's one of those chapters that people still talk about, and it adds to the rereadability of the series, where you can kind of go back and try and connect all these dots. And hopefully, it's something that we're going to go back and look at the end, and we can hopefully finally put the dots together. I'm sure we, maybe got kind of close, but it's still something that we need to see coalesce, and that's what makes it a great chapter, because it's still relevant in the last book. It'll be still relevant. So that's my final thoughts on the chapter.
I think it's one of the chapters that screws most with your head, because this prophecy is just like drive you nuts. you're like, what this? They're like us piecing and trying to guess. It screws with your mind, but like in a great way, because then, you know, more books come out, then you go back and you're like, oh, I think this meant this, but this, or maybe it could mean that, or whatever. And another part of this chapter is that what I loved it, then I did not love some of the ramifications, like her paranoia and like this chapter like means so much to her, and it affects her. And honestly, I don't think it affects her in a good way. I think there's one of the examples how knowing prophecies is like not good for you, like at all. It's better not to know and just be with a free mind and thinking, you know, because in a way it kind of like limits your vision. You just think that there's only like one way you can go, and you're always obsessing about that way instead of just thinking how I can do better and how I can go and how this and that. And it's a great chapter, but it has like such ramifications for Dany that sometimes I just want to shake her.
Now, Willie, you have any thoughts besides that we cracked the code?
Yeah, you know, this was a very interesting chapter the first time I read it. And each time I read it, it's still, you know, very interesting to see the things that she experiences, what she understands, what she doesn't understand, and for us still trying to figure it out, you know. And yeah, look, I definitely do think we cracked the code today. So you know, round of applause to everyone on that one, because I think when it's all said and done, people are gonna have to look back and be like, you know what, wow, who else but this group here?
Who else is a question?
Yeah. So yeah, awesome chapter. Glad that we got to do it today. Quinn, glad that you agreed to this one as the special guest kind of at the last minute. So you know,
yep. You know a chapter is good when it name drops the series not once but twice.
Yes. And it does it in a better way than, I guess, we're some kind of Suicide Squad.
I don't appreciate you talking shit on my favorite movie of all time.
Oh my god.
No, I fucking hate that movie. I fucking hate that movie.
With passion. I've heard rants.
I really liked Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman was good. But
yeah.
Woman was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I just looked at a picture of this baby. This baby looks like Haley Joel Osment or something like that. Wow.
It's actually a cute baby.
I mean, it's a cute baby, but it's not.
I think the lighting made it look darker. It made its skin look darker. But now that I'm seeing it right here, it just says.
This doesn't look like the stallion that's going to mount the world. It looks like the stallion that's going to see dead people.
It's like the complete opposite. He has like her skin tone and her eyes and his hair.
Like they didn't even try.
It's like if she married Brad Pitt or something instead.
It makes no sense. They did completely the opposite of what he was supposed to look like in the books.
Anyways, this chapter was, in my opinion, probably it might be the best chapter in the game, and it really goes to show George's ability to mix genres. As we got a little bit of horror into this, we got a little bit. It's one of the most fantasy-like ones with all the images and prophecies, and in a light fantasy world, it was just really well done. Yeah, I think it's my favorite chapter. So, anyways, so we're gonna go ahead and sign off here. Quinn, you want to go ahead and start?
My Ideas of Ice and Fire on YouTube, and yeah,
check it out. Tinker.
Thank you, everyone who's been watching us live and anyone who will see us later on. I had a lot of fun with this chapter. I really enjoy it. As you know, I have a channel, Tinker Jesso, and I've opened recently a blog, Tinker Jesso's blog, and I've got a few videos that are going to come up for that blog. So if you want to check it out, it's there. Thank you very much.
JB.
Yeah, you can find me at JBTV. Subscribe if you don't want any new content, because I'm not giving any, because I'm lazy as shit. So anyway, I can't keep on with the Hypes Watch, but yeah, thanks for having me.
No, Willie.
Yeah, listen, you guys already know where you can find me, Don of Ice and Fire. If I'm not here doing stuff with the team, um, yeah, Thursdays I'm doing my Ice and Fire opinions. I did one this week on Rhaegar. I'm surprised I didn't get more thumbs down as much as people love Rhaegar. But next week, I'm thinking I'm going to do Samwell Tarly, and couple more theory videos that are coming. I just finished the brand one, so I need to actually do the video and post that. So that'll be up on Monday. But yeah, you guys already know how we always sign off. Rate, comment, subscribe, share, tell your friends to come back for more. Back to you, Jerry.
Yeah, everyone, thank you for coming. Actually, join us tomorrow. We're going to be having a predictions video for the show. Joining with Val from Because Geek. That's going to be tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So be sure to check that out. And yeah, check out everyone, especially Don Willie's channels. Check out some Tinker's reactions to trailers. And speaking of trailers, go ready to go see Spider-Man next week, because it's going to rock. It's going to be the best superhero movie of the year. That being said, Hype Watch out. Baelish for King.